You are listening to the Boundless Enigma podcast with Sam Zins
and Ryan Mulkentine. On this podcast, we dive into the mind, reality, and existence itself to provide you with boundless ideas and insights.
Like you were talking about the last time on the last podcast about suffering and grace, I was kind of using it over the past couple of days. I was having some issues, and I decided that instead of trying to power through it and try to figure out what the issue is right away and jump on it, I decided I was going to feel it and kind of let my emotions just feel, basically,
Yeah. Dude, definitely. And but that sucks sometimes, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But it's what else is there to do,
Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta stay down, and just feel it, because I feel like in society today it's so hustle bustle, and it kind of makes you feel this pressure, oh, you gotta get to going on things instead of calming down and just feeling how you feel.
Definitely, dude.
Oh.
I know one of the Leo Gura, one of his episodes on actualize.org is how to deal with strong negative emotions. And the thesis of that video is you need to be a conductor, how a conductor, a metal wire, conducts electricity and just lets it flow. Just lets it if you put electricity on one side of the metal wire, it's going to just flow right to the other side. It just conducts the electricity so well. And you need to be like that. You need to just allow whatever emotions or feelings are there to be there and flow however that they are flowing. Let them be, and whatever resistance you are putting up to it is adding additional suffering, and eventually you'll flow through all of your emotions and they'll go away.
Dude, yeah, exactly. And I feel like that I think that's what I figured out, or I'm still figuring out, but something that I figured out in an instance the other day where I was having an issue, and I decided to learn from what you were saying and feel it. And then once I felt it, I noticed that my resistance was gone, and that I found out where the real issue was, and I actually was able to then solve the problem quicker and more effectively, basically. And plus I felt good throughout the process of it. I didn't feel that resistance like you were just saying.
Right. You know what is awesome?
What's awesome?
That I can already tell we're saying way less than we were the first episode.
I definitely have thought about that a little bit.
That's good.
And something also that I think might be helping me is I started reading a book, and I noticed that every time I'm in a good habit of reading a book, every time I'm in a good habit of reading a book, I notice that I'm more articulate and my thoughts are more aligned, and I can speak clear and more how I want to.
Yeah. Nice.
So
what book are you reading?
It's a book my mom got me. I actually have it right here. My mom got me it for Christmas, and she said that I should totally read it. And It's called Quiet, by Susan Cain. I literally just started reading it, so I'm not far into it at all, but I like it so far. It's basically what it's about is it's for people who deem themselves as introverts, and kind of talking about how you can just how to be a better introvert.
Yeah. Interesting. So how do you be a better introvert?
That's kind of what I'm looking for, but I have kind of noticed one thing, and it's just being more talkative or sociable, and just talking to people and not worrying so much about what they think, because I feel like it's so nice to be able to talk to strangers.
Yeah.
And I just don't.
That reminds me of my math class the other day. It was 9:20 a.m. math class, and nice. I just am always kind of groggy and I don't know. For some reason in that class, I feel self-conscious and I don't know how to like speak to people. I just don't know what's going on. And last class, we were like in a little group. It was like four or five of us in this like mini group. And we were kind of sitting there like in silence, and I was just like, fuck it. And I was like, so this class, pretty good, right? And then like people like started laughing and like they thought it was funny, and like literally like it doesn't like you can say like anything, and like you don't realize that people like aren't actually judging because like no one actually really cares. Like you can literally say anything and it's fine. There's no repercussions really, you know?
Yeah, dude, and not only do they not care, but they want to talk too, you know?
Yeah.
I like
Or they want someone else to talk. They don't want to just like
exactly,
sit there in like awkward silence.
exactly. And speaking of like of classes, that's definitely an instance where I feel that way too. Like in certain classes, I'll just feel self-conscious for some reason. But in one of my classes, I've been getting very unself-conscious in it, and I've noticed how how much more enjoyable it is, and not only enjoyable, but I feel like I'm discovering more of myself by being talkative. It's social psychology, so like it's kind of
Oh, nice.
it's right up
I'm
my
taking that.
alley too.
I'm taking that too. I actually just came from social psych.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, how do you like it?
I like it. You know, I like the class. This stuff is interesting, but my teacher is sort of strange.
In what
He
sense?
kind of has this like masculinity dominance complex.
Oh,
Like
huh.
like in class, like he just makes me feel kind of uncomfortable because like he stares you down and he won't break eye contact first. Like he will make you like break eye contact. Like he will like stare you down.
Oh, yeah, I don't like that either.
And it's so uncomfortable because at some point you're just kind of like looking around like, are you still looking at me? Can you look at someone else, please?
Yeah, yeah. And then you feel like you got to take a note or something like that, or like look at the
Yeah.
clock. I don't know.
And then I look back up and he's like still looking at me. I'm like, oh my God, like, did I do something to you?
Dude, that is really annoying.
Oh,
It really that's something that I feel like goes unnoticed sometimes, like with like a subconscious thing of like the environment and your teacher and just everything, just the environment really like plays a bigger role on your experience than you
yeah.
think.
And you know what? Then I'm like worried about like, what have I done something to offend him? Like, how do I get him to stop looking at me? And now I'm not even listening to what he's saying and I'm not learning.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, man. I know exactly what you mean. It's
So
hard to get
frustrating.
past that kind of stuff. I feel like it's just a matter of time. You just gotta get a better feel. I don't know.
I don't
It's
know.
hard.
I start sitting in the back corner, so it's harder for him to like find me.
You're like back. You're like ducking behind
No,
somebody.
like literally, I'm like behind other people, so I can just like avoid him. It's fine. It's
He's
whatever.
kind of like looking at you like.
Luckily, his
Fine.
exams are like multiple choice, so there's not any room for like bias. If he does hate me, he
Yeah.
can't take points off because it's objective.
Right. Right. That is a major plus for sure.
So,
For sure. Well, that's interesting.
dang. Well,
Huh.
hey, how's school been? Like, what do you? I don't know. Just give me the rundown on what's going on with school.
So right now I'm taking social psychology, lifespan development, environmental geology,
Oh,
and Spanish too online. Um, and so far I love social psychology and lifespan development. Those classes have been really interesting and fun so far. Um, and then environmental geology, I actually just changed my class. I just got into there. We start like a week or two later than most schools, so it's not like this is only our third week. So, nonetheless, I'm just getting into that class, so I don't quite know what to expect from it, but
yeah.
I'm excited.
Nice.
And then Spanish is just I'm not the biggest fan. To be honest, I would love to learn a language, but language to me feels like something that I feel like I'd have a better time learning it on my own time. Because I feel like school just pushes you along, forces you to
Yeah.
learn it their way, and I feel like their way has just never worked for me in terms of language. So,
Right.
um, yeah, I mean, but obviously I have to do it, so I'm gonna try my best. But
Yeah.
you know, what about you, man? How's everything going?
School? School? It's honestly, I don't know how difficult it's going to be because I haven't taken any like exams yet, so I don't know like how to.
That's fair.
I haven't gauged quite yet. Although it's not like honestly, it hasn't been too much work so far. I feel
Good.
like I've been putting a lot of work on myself, like outside of school, like with like different projects that I've been like this podcast. I've been
Yeah.
taking a lot of time for that, and I've been taking a lot of time for my second secret YouTube channel. Did I tell you about that?
The clips.
Yeah, the clips one,
Yeah.
like the Duncan Trussell
Yeah.
clips.
Jumping Trussell. Yeah. Yeah. You did tell me about that. How is that going well?
It's going really well. It's going super well. I just posted a video yesterday, and it's getting the most views, like in the shortest amount of time of all of my videos ever. So like currently it's at 3,400 views, and I posted it 24 hours ago.
Dude, that's
And
awesome.
it was a clip from Duncan Trussell's podcast, of him talking to Lil Yachty, and they were talking about how Lil Yachty has done acid over 100 times.
Jeez, oh Pete's. That's wild.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
Dude, that's I mean, considering I've done acid 0 times, that is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I can imagine the amount of stuff that one could learn doing it that many times.
Yes. Yeah. He was talking about like how he has learned like so much about himself and like reality by
Mhm.
tripping that many times.
Dude, that is like the coolest thing ever to me. Just learning
It's
about
something
reality.
I want to do before I die. Like I want to trip on acid at some point in my life.
Same, man. That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. I mean,
I'm like
and I'm
scared
still,
though.
yeah, dude. Yeah, it is. It's a scary thing. I feel like I kind of, when I think about it, I kind of think about how I felt before I tried marijuana for the first
Yeah,
time. It
exactly.
was like, oh, like talking to somebody who's already done it, like, oh, what's it like, and like looking up what might happen, all these other things, and
Right.
then you do it, and then it's like it is crazy the first, like, for a
Yeah.
while. I mean, it still is,
Right.
but now I know what to expect more, so it's not as scary as it felt.
Right. It's like that first time. I remember like my first time smoking weed. Like I had no idea what to expect, and
Mhm.
it hit me like a truck. Like I had no, I would have never imagined that that was what being high was like
I
until I
know.
tried it. I would have never known. And then it's like a state of consciousness that you could not imagine without trying it. That's
Yeah,
for, I mean, I've done shrooms too. So I know like what that is like. And that's a crazy experience too. Like, I don't know. They're both but that kind of like come up anxiety that you have like on weed, like on a really heavy edible sometimes when you're just kind of like freaked out about like, oh, this is being intense.
right.
It's that same like feeling of anxiety that you get, but then like eventually like you get over this like hump of like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, like forgot about how intense this feeling can be, and then you get
Right.
over the hump and you're like, okay, I'm in this state of consciousness, I'm high on whatever this is, and everything's okay. I'm not dying, and it's honestly a really cool place to be right now. And then it's like then I can relax. So it's like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. It's like
You know?
you either learn how to accept that you're in that state of mind, or you don't learn how to accept that you're in that state of mind, and then you freak out or something like that. But yeah, just accepting that that's what's happening, I think, could probably make stuff like that go smoother.
It's the same
Obviously
thing
easier
with
said than
the emotions we were talking about. How like the copper, like you need to be the conductor and like let the emotions flow. Like
yeah.
when you're like in that state of like anxiety, like you have to just like accept it. And I think like in the acceptance of the anxiety, you start to diminish it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good way of putting it.
I
Yeah,
don't know
that is
because
the one.
what else can you do? Like what else can you really do?
Yeah, I say it's a choice, but I haven't thought enough about choices. You know what I mean? And like I haven't thought deep enough about whether we actually have full choices or not, because
Yeah,
I don't know.
I
That's hard
know.
for me.
That's a very Sam Harris like idea.
Yeah, that
You
is
know,
I think that might have been where I got the where it got my brain turning from.
I still like I like semi. I don't know. I don't have like a core belief on like choice and like what's it called like free will. Like I see the possibility of both. Like I haven't like I'm not I have one foot in both camps of like we have free will and we make our own choices and we're autonomous, but there's also the possibility that like we just feel that way and all of the prior experiences and things that have happened to us just lead to us making this decision even though we feel like we're making that decision.
Mhm.
Like I don't know, maybe both are true somehow.
Yeah, it's such a hard like topic to grasp those topics. Like kind of my viewpoint on it is that we have free will, but only what our environment and situation provides us with. Because if
Interesting.
you're born in North Korea, for example, you don't have much free will, and that's not due to you not being able to actually do anything. It's like you're being literally restrained. Whereas
Yeah.
us over here in America, in our specific situations, we have a lot more free will to choose, and we can go anywhere.
I'd say that also applies to like the boundaries of your knowledge. Like if you have a
Mhm.
choice, like if I think like Sam Harris like has said like think of like any city like right now like think of a city
Mhm.
now like name that city.
Chicago.
Okay, so I was thinking of like Bangladesh.
Okay.
Now like you can't name a city that you've never heard of before, right?
Yeah. That's true.
Right, or you can't name a city that like is not in your like forefront that you've been thinking of. Like I don't know, like would you ever thought of Bangladesh? Like I don't know. I wasn't thinking of Chicago. I don't know, but I've
Yeah.
heard of
I mean,
Chicago. You've heard of Bangladesh. Although I
right,
don't know. I
right,
think Bangladesh might be a country. I'm not sure.
Honestly, I don't. It sounds like a city. I've always maybe thought it was. I don't even know what I thought it was. See
But do you know what I'm
that's like
saying?
no.
Kind
Yeah,
of.
I definitely do. Yeah, like if it's not in your like bank of knowledge, how are you supposed to know or do at something?
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Yeah,
So I guess we're also
that's what
limited
I
in
meant.
that. I don't
Exactly,
know.
exactly. I mean, the fact that we don't even know, what we call space, like up in the sky, and we even say up in the sky as if we're not part of space. Um, Nonetheless, we don't know anything about. We're discovering so much as we progress in time, and we don't know a lot of stuff still. Um, and that's stuff that's outside of our knowledge. So we don't really have a
True.
choice right now to be able to make any kind of even assumptions,
True.
about what it could be.
Dude, and that could be that like could be so much more profound than we imagine. Because think about if like we think we're like human beings right now,
Hmm.
like because that's all we know. But
Right.
what if an enlightened guru somewhere like knows like and he has now added to his knowledge bank that it's possible to be something other than human and like it's possible to like because like I know like one belief like for example like one belief or like one like insight one spiritual insight that happens for some people when they awaken is that like we are like you are not your body, you are like the awareness, like you are awareness holding everything else. I don't know, but like if
Yeah.
you don't know that then you're going to be very obsessed with the human realm of being like your physical body of like you're very obsessed with like keeping yourself alive. But if
Hmm.
you then believe if you've come to the to find the knowledge that you are not this human being, this body, but you are something that holds this body. Like if you are not if you come to find out that you are not this body, then you're not going to be as concerned about what happens when you die. You're not going to care. You're going to that pressure of death is going to be gone, and now you have the ability
Hmm.
to choose to act in other ways that are more helpful, maybe more peaceful, that leads you to more wellness. I don't know. I don't know why that was an example I used, but it was just like I'm trying to think of like what are some crazy possible knowledges that you can acquire that are like unimaginable to us right now, but to some people maybe they have gotten there.
Yeah, man, that's like that's the stuff that is I'm gonna say feels impossible to put a finger on. I don't
Yeah,
want to say it is because it isn't, but like coming from my headspace right now, imagining what it could be, it feels I don't want to say impossible, but just unfathomable right now. Because I feel like in my own life I've noticed through different points in life I could have never fathomed different points in life. So that
true,
just tells me that
true.
how can I get to a point where I can fathom or
Yeah.
be in a point. I don't know.
Or
It's fun.
like that same thing where you're like you couldn't fathom this until you experienced it.
Right.
Like that goes for the first time like I tried weed. Like I could have never fathomed that. And then you tried it and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know that this state of consciousness existed."
Yeah.
Imagine how many more of those
Right.
exist, you know?
Yeah. It feels unlimited.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I was thinking about this the other day, and this is the first time I'm gonna be saying it out loud, so I just kind of want to just see what you think about it. So I was thinking about. I'm sure you've heard of everything equals nothing. I think we've talked about that before, actually. But I was
Yes.
doing some really deep thinking on this the other night, and my goodness, I felt like I had a tidbit of insight, but then after I thought about it, I was like, I don't know if I do. So I was thinking, yeah, I know I'm prefacing this a lot, but it's because it's
Oh
so
no, no.
like profound, and I want to make sure that I cover it. Um,
No, good.
but like everything equals nothing because if, for example, this water bottle wasn't here, then it would be nothing. But since it is here, it's everything. So
I don't know
that's
if it'd
kind of
be
what
everything,
I'm
but
sorry.
it's something,
That's
right?
what, yeah, that's more so what I meant. It makes up everything because everything that's
Yes.
here is
And
everything.
because something exists, that mean like because something exists, it also means that nothing also exists with because having something means that someday there might be the absence of this or I don't know.
Yeah, it's like
I'm
the sum of the greater whole. I think I said that right. Like that's what comes to mind to me is like this, my laptop, candle, notebook, all these things are just, they make everything because they are added up to be everything.
okay, yeah.
And that's kind of where I was coming from, I think.
And
Um,
and therefore then that says something about nothing.
yeah, because if those things weren't there, then they would be nothing.
Yeah.
See, but that,
Yeah.
that's
No,
kind of
that
what
makes
I'm
sense.
like. It does, but it also, I
I
feel that
know.
there's something missing.
Well, it's because it's like because you can't hold nothing in your mind. So you have to like use something kind of you have to explain it using something too. Like but
Mhm.
so like by nothing is just the absence of something, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Nothing is just no thing,
uh
right?
huh,
No thing.
right, yeah,
And then everything is everything. And so thing is the word in question. Thing is the important thing
true.
here. Because everything and no thing. I don't know.
Yeah,
I've
that's
always
really,
struggled with the idea of like nothing and everything existing at the same time.
yeah, man, because it's such a fascinating like topic to me. Like there's so many of them, but that one specifically I find so fascinating because it's just literally puts reality into perspective. But I maybe we're just not at the point right now to fully understand that. But
I feel like I'm just not knowledgeable enough to like speak too deeply on it.
Yeah, yeah. That was
I don't
more
know.
so just thought, but
Maybe one day I will get there. I hope I'll get there.
yeah, man, that'd be awesome. I hope we get everywhere. uh,
Maybe that's possible. Maybe
yeah,
I know it seems like that would be impossible, but what if there is a place where you can know everything?
I know that's the golden question right there. That's what everybody would love to get to, or you would
Maybe
think.
that's what happens when you die. You just like
Yeah,
merge into everything,
yeah.
and then you know everything.
What's your perspective on death? Like, what do you think it's about?
Shoot,
Not
I've
not to ask you too big of a question or anything.
no. Like I can kind of like recite like what I guess like my perspective on death is like I'm just gonna be like reciting other people's beliefs that I hold the most strongly, but I haven't like experienced it for myself.
Okay.
Like I don't know. I would say, well, what is death? I don't know, dude. I does it. I mean, does it really matter? Like, if we die and we know what happens versus we die and we don't know what happens, like
I
something
guess I
happens.
guess what would matter is your stance on it in terms of how it makes you feel, because I know there's some people who are terrified of death, and that,
True.
I mean, everybody is to a certain extent, but some people are extremely terrified of death, and that can be
Yeah.
really hold somebody back. Whereas I feel like I personally don't put too much emphasis on it. That doesn't mean I'm like putting myself in
True.
danger or anything like that,
Right.
but I don't worry about it, because if I die, I die. I hope I don't,
I
but
wonder what would happen, like how you would feel about death if you knew that you were close to it, though. Like if you actively, like if you were diagnosed with like terminal cancer tomorrow,
yeah,
would you suddenly like have a new insight about it?
I absolutely,
Like, because I think
I
it's
absolutely believe that you do. What were you saying?
I know that there's a guy named Ramdev. His that's like his spiritual name, but his full name is Dave Borglum, and he has this website called the Living Dying Project. Or yeah, it's like that. Like he has this like organization called like the Living Dying Project, and it pairs up like spiritual practitioners who are trying to get deeper in their spiritual practice. It pairs up those people with people who are dying and are trying to like they're scared of dying and they want relief from that. They want to be able to live freely in their last few moments, in their last few days, weeks. And so, because there's a lot to be learned, apparently, from spending time with somebody who is dying.
Yeah,
Because when you realize you only have 3 weeks left, you become ultra freaking present and extra grateful, like vivid gratefulness for everything that's going on because you know that you have 3 weeks. Like that's all you get. So
yeah,
every minute wasted is
it's a minute
ticking
waste.
off the minutes that you have left.
Right.
And that can allow for like profound like spiritual breakthroughs, and it helps the spiritual teacher and like leader grow, but then that spiritual teacher and leader can also guide this
Mhm.
person through and liberate them from this fear of death. So it's like a mutual relationship. But I don't know. I've never been with somebody that's been like, actually, I guess I have. Honestly, it's kind of depressing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it definitely can be. I can't say I've been. I mean, other than one person, but not consciously. But nonetheless, like what you were just saying. Um, I'm losing my train of thought a little bit. Um,
No, take your time.
I just had it. What you were talking about, people dying. Oh, so it's kind of like you realize you don't have much time left, so that resistance just dissipates. And when I think what might be so stressful at first to somebody who might have received this news that they're going to die is that since that resistance all of a sudden dissipates of everything and everything just feels so present, like you said, I think there's a lot that just becomes uncovered. And when there's a lot uncovered, there's a lot of issues that arise, but there's also a lot of great things too. But it feels like there's so much just that had bubbled up and all of a sudden it just popped, And
Yeah.
I think that can maybe put somebody into shock almost.
I mean, think about, let's say you get diagnosed with terminal cancer and you're going to die in 3 months. You're probably going to let's say you have like a fight or a grudge with your daughter or something. Mm-hmm. Now you only have 3 months. So you don't want to be wasting time, like
exactly
continuing that grudge and wasting that time. So what it does is like it forces you to go have conflict now and like talk through. It forces you, if you want to spend your remaining time with your daughter, now you are forced, because of this time constraint, to uncover all of this stuff that's been going on and work through it. Now it's like that you could like ignore it and just die sad, which like I'm sure a lot of really depressed people that probably happens, but I think for a lot of people they feel much more motivated to go into that resistance and uncover it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think that's something that we, as people who are fortunate enough to not, have some kind of notice as of right now that we're going to die soon, something that we can learn from is what I'm saying, to, be more proactive about our like issues in life and allow those issues to be there and accept the fact, or more so accept the fact that they're there, but also realize that we're capable of changing them and or more so fixing them if we want to, especially when it comes to grudges and whatnot, because that's just some of the most like hurting things. I feel like, at least for me, is I don't have any grudges, but I feel like the times where I have had grudges, like I quickly realized like I do not like this,
It's just a waste of energy.
Yeah.
It's like, why? Like, I can hold this grudge and just be like, it's like, it feels like I'm like tensing up my like emotions in my body and brain when I have a grudge. Or, you know what? I can just let it go and feel better. And either way, whatever happened still happened. And that person's going to be the way they are pretty much no matter what I do. So I might as well just forget about it.
Yeah. And I something that I think is interesting about like not holding grudges and not being so harshly judging people for the way that they might be that you don't like. I think it's beneficial to not do that, because it almost opens up this whole new compartment in my like or at least it feels like this to me. It opens up this whole new compartment in my brain to where I feel like I can actually be conscious about what's happening and almost help these people, or not help them, but communicate better is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Instead of shutting them out or shutting them down.
Yeah.
Now, because you're able to be open, you're allowing communication, whereas and that allows for further progress versus if you were just to continue your grudge, now you guys are both not getting anywhere.
Exactly. It's like a stalemate if it's grudge versus grudge, whereas if it's grudge versus somebody trying to be open-minded, so open-minded can quickly pull them together.
And open-mindedness can be contagious. So like if you allow someone to feel heard, now they're more willing to hear you.
Exactly. This is reminding me of something that we talked about in social psychology this morning. We watched this TED talk about self-compassion, and this lady was just talking about towards the end. This is what really clicked with me through the whole thing. Was she said, by being self-compassionate, it allows you to be more compassionate with others.
That is, I've had that insight myself.
Yeah, same, and like, it's so beneficial.
Yes, it's crazy. I want to tell you like a story. I'm gonna tell you my story about how I had that insight.
Let's hear it.
Okay. So I was in the gym this is probably like 6 months ago.
Mhm.
I was in the gym and I was just so self-conscious. I was feeling so self-conscious, like I don't know, were people looking at me? Do they think I look small? Like, am I not? I don't know. I was
Am I
feeling
not
very
lifting right?
self-conscious.
Yeah.
Yep. I wanted to get bigger and I was just feeling very self-conscious.
Hmm.
And at one point, I just looked at myself in those giant mirrors that they have in gyms.
Hmm.
And I just stared at myself and I was like, Ryan, I deeply love and accept you. I just like looked at myself and I had an intimate moment with myself.
That's awesome.
And then after doing that for like 30 seconds, just staring at myself in the mirror, I turn around and like my self consciousness is like severely diminished. And I look around and I see everyone else being incredibly self conscious.
Dude, that's crazy.
And you make eye contact with them and you can tell that they're like self
Yeah, like,
conscious about themselves. And
yeah.
I was too preoccupied with my own self consciousness to notice everyone else being self conscious as well. And then by loving myself and giving myself the love that I felt I was lacking in that moment, I was then able to look out with my being fulfilled in that moment
Hmm.
and see what was really going on and like now understand them and love them where they're at.
Dude,
Which is crazy.
that's an awesome experience.
It was
That's really cool.
it was profound. It was so profound.
Yeah, man. And I think what's so great about insights like the one that you had there is that it transfers over to every area of life, you know, like and I feel like once you learn that these insights aren't just for specific times, you know, because I feel like we all like associate our lives with like work, school, gym, you know, self improvement.
Yeah.
Like we compartmentalize these things when
Yes.
in reality it's everything. Everything is everything. So if you
Yep.
can take these insights and bring them over to your just live it, then you're golden.
Definitely. It's like I definitely fall into the trap of like, all right, I gotta check the school box today, and I gotta check the gym box today,
Yeah.
and I gotta check the calorie box today. Oh, and let me get the shower box. I'm gonna keep checking off these boxes, and then once I complete the list, oh, that's what I need to do today. When then I need to take a step back and realize this is all part of my life, and I need to enjoy my life. So it's okay if I don't go to the gym today, and instead sit outside and enjoy the weather. You know.
Yeah, man.
I get
Just
so into checking the box.
yeah. Yeah. It's just like literally living your life, you know, and not living under this contract almost. Because that's what
Yeah.
it feels like sometimes is like just just these priorities and responsibilities and all these things. And yeah, there are some things that you know need to be taken
Yeah.
care of in order for you to be happy, but you can do it a
But
better way.
realize if you take a step back and you're like, I'm not gonna do this today. I'm just gonna sit here
Yeah.
and fuck around.
Yeah.
You know, life goes on. Whether you do all this crap or not, it doesn't. It's just nice to realize like you don't have to do all of the grindy stuff all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
maybe that's a luxury for me,
Right.
but it's nice to realize like, oh, like I don't have to like continually be achieving this and working on this to be happy. Like I can literally just stop for a second and be happier. I can clean the dishes right now and be happy being present in the moment versus like thinking about what I need to do or like trying to rush through things. Like, no, I can stop and it's all okay.
Yeah, and by being like that is self-compassion right there, you know, just like letting yourself do things and do them the way that you want to do them and
That's
enjoy
true.
them, you know?
100%.
Because I think that that grindy mentality, like you were talking about, is something that I've definitely had and still sometimes do have at times. I think that's what really distracts me from like realizing what's actually going on in my mind and what like my emotions, you know, because it it's that grindy mentality is like this mindless, like, okay, I'm doing this, but I'm thinking about what's next rather than
Yeah.
I'm doing this,
Yeah.
and being connected to it.
I think that doing self-development work can become such a grind and such like a whipping yourself to do these things, to develop yourself, to become better. And you get so intense about it that you start to like become miserable in the process. And it's like, I'm doing self-development to make my life better. So if I'm doing these things to make my life better and they're making my life worse, I should stop doing them.
Right. It's like it's this like blatant hint that something is off.
Yeah.
And but like it's such a hard hint to get because you're so distracted. I like to
Sometimes
call
the
it
best self-development. Sometimes the best self-development is just stopping self-development for a day.
Yeah, man, absolutely, and just looking around at life, and just not being so worried about what you need to be working on. Yeah. I find myself a lot of the time trying to self-develop, but I feel like I've gotten good at doing it in a healthy way. Because like for a while I felt like it wasn't a healthy way, or at least at times and it's still at times is not in a healthy way. But I think by just keeping, I don't even think about it as self-development necessarily, but that's what it is, I guess. I more so just think about it like, okay, this is my life, what's going on in my life. And not only what's going on in my life, but what's going on in other people's lives, because it's like that. Have you heard of like situational and dispositional factors?
No.
Okay. Well, you're probably going to learn about it. I just learned about this in social psychology, but this is what I was thinking though. In social psychology, I was like, whoa, this actually applies to life.
Yeah.
So dispositional factors are factors that are like internal, like traits and just about yourself and what you might think, assumptions and whatnot. And then situational or external factors they're factors that just affect people's lives. And typically when we're like judging people or making assumptions, we're thinking about the dispositional factors, about how we feel about it and about their traits and everything like that, and like what they might be displaying, rather than the situational factors that maybe they got some terrible news today and that's why they're acting a certain way, and I think that self-development
or even
constantly
applying that to yourself, you can apply that like
exactly.
It's like if you were like hating yourself right now for being self-conscious, maybe you're like, oh, well, maybe it's because I woke up late and I skipped a class and now I feel bad. It's like, okay, well, it's not really about me. It's like what happened in my day.
Exactly. And I think that can really help you have compassion for yourself, because then you realize that it's not something that needs to be just carried on with. You don't need to be angry or frustrated the entire day because you missed a class. Like obviously you want to maybe try to do better about getting to bed earlier or something like that. But that's what that self-compassion does. It gives you the chance to look at what you could improve on or maybe do differently next time in order to get an outcome that you find more desirable.
Yeah.
A lot going on though.
True.
Do you have any areas in your life right now that you wanted to talk about or anything?
I don't know. I guess honestly, I'm drawing a blank here. I don't really have much to talk about. I was thinking about my YouTube channels and how we're gonna start putting this podcast out there. I'm trying to think about if we want to put this out on, like, if we want to start making like TikTok clips at all, or like some Instagram clips or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that definitely eventually that would I say eventually. I don't know. And eventually could be tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, eventually that'd be awesome. I think that like getting on as many platforms as possible is something that definitely helps expand.
The problem with my brain is that like I come up with like all these ideas and I'm like, oh, I want to do all of them, but then it's like when I start doing them, like, okay, this is gonna take me like way more hours than I thought.
I know what you
You
mean,
know?
man. It's so hard. It's so hard to manage because like there's so many things going on, and it's like, oh wow. Like I feel like I do that with life too. It's like, oh, I have so many ideas and so many things I want to be thinking about, but it's like,
Yeah.
you got one thing right here that you could be doing.
Yeah. True. I
It's
also
hard.
love like being in that fantasy realm in my mind of like, oh, like imagining like, oh, if I started posting all these TikTok clips, like we could start getting all these listeners and like we'd get thousands of followers if I just kept doing it every day. And I'm like, oh, but I'd have to do it every day and I'd have to edit every single clip. And you start like trying to do it and you're like, oh, damn, this is hard.
Yeah, there's only two of us that are working on this podcast, doing
Yeah.
YouTube. You're doing YouTube clips and posting it, and then yeah, Instagram, TikTok, all this stuff. So definitely something
Yeah.
that to think about. But you know,
Something we are gonna think about is like division of labor at some point of like who, what other things is there to do
yeah,
for this?
yeah, because I think we're right now at the point where just figuring things out, kind of just putting things together.
Right.
But yeah, division of labor definitely.
Trying not to say like a bunch of times.
Yeah, yeah. We have stuff like that to be trying to work on right now. So yeah, that's something that we're definitely noticing. And I'm sure there's more stuff. I think that's the fun part about putting these videos out and what we're going to be doing each week is kind of being able to look at them because I don't know about you, but I watched listened to our last podcast, and I was just kind of just recognizing how I talk and how you talk and these just different components of things. And I think that's something that's been fun so far to kind of recognize.
If you keep doing that, what I would really appreciate is if you like find like a cool 5 minute or like 10 minute clip of like you're like, oh, like that was really good. Like what we were talking about was like kind of profound there. Like write down like the time number on that, like a timestamp on that, and like send it to me so that I'll like edit that and like post it.
Absolutely. I'll definitely do that. Yeah,
That would
absolutely.
be so helpful.
Because there's definitely points where it's like, oh, that was a really good part of the little session I had there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, that's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm cool with like finishing up here. Like, I feel like we had a good fill of.
Yeah,
Of
there
some good
was a lot
stuff in
going
there.
on. I'm down to let it go too.
And I want to see maybe how like a shorter podcast does,
Yeah.
or maybe like let's just see how one does under an hour.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
But all right, till next week. Oh, and I think next week we might have a guest. Possibly, we could have a possible guest on, someone who went to Bhutan and studied Buddhism, wellness, and mindfulness. Possibly next week. Possibly.
Yes, sir.
So,
If not next week, eventually.
eventually.